All right, happy college football ranking Tuesday. Today I'll give you my rankings and my predictions for the games this weekend, my predictions for the Final Four, my new predictions after what went down, and how every team can get in. Rankings are Oklahoma 1, Clemson 2, Wisconsin 3, Auburn 4, Alabama 5, Miami 6, Georgia 7, and Ohio State 8. I believe Oklahoma is a better team than Clemson. I think they have a more sound offense and a better defense, even though they are in the Pac-12, which is known for not having any defense. Clemson 2, right where they should be. Wisconsin 3, ahead of Auburn, even though Auburn's knocked off 2 number 1 teams. Wisconsin is undefeated, so you have to give them their credit there. Bama 4, not dropping too far after losing to Auburn on the road. It wasn't a good loss. It definitely wasn't a good loss. It wasn't exactly a horrible loss, but it's still a bad loss. Miami losing to Pitt was awful. Terrible loss for Miami after being undefeated. They're kind of like a Wisconsin who's undefeated, and their really marquee win is at Notre Dame, or against Notre Dame when they blew them away. Georgia 7, right where they should be, and Ohio State 8, right where they should be. They didn't do too much to beat up on Michigan, only beating them by 11. So the games this week, we have TCU versus Oklahoma, Clemson versus Miami, Auburn versus Georgia, Ohio State versus Wisconsin, and Stanford versus USC. Now, you didn't hear any Pac-12 schools because the Pac-12 is done. 2 losses or more playing in the conference championship game. I don't think anybody has a shot, really. I don't think any of them will top out the top 8, maybe a top 10 team in USC. But other than that, I don't see any of them making the playoffs. So my predictions for the games, I think Oklahoma's going to come out and beat TCU. The line's Oklahoma -7. My prediction is 45-31 Oklahoma. Clemson versus Miami, line is Clemson -9.5. That's a cover right there. Clemson 35, Miami 21. Auburn versus Georgia, Auburn -2.5, easy cover. My prediction is Auburn 34, Georgia 17, blowing them out of the water again. OSU -6.5. Bet Wisconsin +6.5 because I think it's going to be close. I think Ohio State wins 17-14, and if they don't win, Wisconsin will win that game outright, and you'll win your money that way. Stanford versus USC, USC -3.5. I don't have a cover here. I have USC 20, Stanford 17. Keep that one close in the Pac-12. Now after this weekend, Auburn beating Alabama. My final four at the end of the year, after all the championship games are over, is Oklahoma in the 1 seed, Clemson in the 2 seed, Auburn in the 3 seed after Wisconsin loses to Ohio State, and Alabama in the 4 seed squeaking in. Then I have Oklahoma beating Alabama. Like I said, Alabama, or I haven't really said this ever, but I don't really think Alabama's that good of a team. I think you make them throw the ball, you're going to beat them. Oklahoma can make the teams throw the ball, and Oklahoma can throw and run the balls themselves. I think Oklahoma has no problem against Alabama. Clemson beats Auburn easily. I don't think they really struggle against Auburn, even though Auburn is kind of hot right now. And then I have Oklahoma winning the national title against Clemson. Close game, 1-possession game, maybe like last year come down in the final drive. How every team's going to get in, Oklahoma controls its own destiny. You win, you're in, you lose, and you are out. Now, I don't see Oklahoma losing. I think Baker Mayfield's going to come out hotter than ever, and I think they're going to take care of TCU easily. Now, I have the score so close. It is 2 touchdowns, but that is respectable if you're TCU, and because I think they won't be able to keep it within 1 score. I think they're going to have to be behind 2 scores all game. Clemson controls its own destiny as well. A win, you're in. A loss, they are potentially out. Now, their only loss comes at Syracuse. I mean, in this case, they would lose to Miami too, but their only loss comes at Syracuse without a starting quarterback on the road. So really, like I said earlier in a few videos, if they would have won that game, they should have won that game if they have their quarterback. So I still think if they do lose, I don't think they will make it in. But still, they will be heavy consideration for one of the top 4 spots. Wisconsin, like the other 3 teams, controls their own destiny. Win and lose, if they lose, they're out. They have no shot at being 1 loss and in because they have a weak schedule. They haven't really beat up on anybody good. Everybody they beat up on wasn't very good. So if Ohio State beats them by 1 or they beat them by 30, I don't think they make it in anyway. Auburn, same as before, win winning in. Losing, they're out because that'll make them 3 losses because they have 2 losses right now and they won't have a conference championship. Alabama is where it gets interesting. They really, really need some help. Now, I believe Alabama is, for reference, Alabama is the Syracuse of football when it comes to Syracuse basketball. Now, 2 years ago, Syracuse got in. Personally, I believe it was because of their name. And I believe Alabama plays the name card here and they get in because of their name. What help they do need, though, is Wisconsin to lose, because if Wisconsin wins, I don't think Alabama gets in at all. It has to be close as well. If Ohio State comes out and they pull another 59-0 against Wisconsin, I also don't think Alabama's in. I think Ohio State will get in over them. Wisconsin wins, Bama's out, like I just said. Wisconsin's undefeated here, so if they win, there's no reason to keep them out. Miami, another interesting team. Mostly, I think they control their own destiny. I think it's a win and in situation here again. Win 95%. I give them a 95% chance to get in if they win. If they lose, they're out. I give them a 95% chance because they have a bad loss to Pitt, but they do have the blowout win against Notre Dame going for them, so I think they're most likely in if they win. Georgia also controls its own destiny in the SEC. Win and they're in, lose and they're out. They got to get their minds right after getting obliterated by Auburn earlier in the year when they were the #1 team. They had Auburn in Auburn. Now this is a neutral site, but still, when they played Auburn, they got destroyed. They couldn't move the ball, and Auburn was just moving the ball like crazy on them. So if they can get that out of their heads, they can play a clean game. I don't think it will be particularly close. I think it'll be a 2-score game like the TCU-Oklahoma game, but they still win and in. Ohio State, my final 8 team, they need a lot of help. They really don't have that much of a chance to get in. It is possible. Their 2 big needs is they need to blow out Wisconsin by 3 scores. Now, they got to beat them by 21, not what my buddy Byron thinks the score is 20 points. Back to Abraham Lincoln for scoring 7 years ago, but he thinks the score is 20. So they got to beat them by 3 scores, which is 21, not 60. TCU needs to win. I think this is huge. If TCU can win this game and beat Oklahoma and make Oklahoma a 2-loss non-conference champ, I think that opens up a spot for Ohio State if they can blow out Wisconsin. I don't really think the SEC and the ACC title really helps them a lot, but a little does go a long way. So if Miami can win and take Clemson out of the top 4, and then Georgia can win and take Auburn out of the top 4, that really helps Ohio State. So that's where I stand on the college football playoffs. Just wrap it up here. We got Oklahoma winning against TCU, Clemson winning against Miami, Auburn winning against Georgia, Ohio State winning against Wisconsin, and USC beating Stanford. Oklahoma 1, Clemson 2, Auburn 3, Alabama 4. Oklahoma beats Alabama, Clemson beats Auburn, Oklahoma wins the title game. I feel like that has a good shot of happening after what happened last weekend, but it is college football. Anything can happen. So next topic, I didn't say this in the beginning, but I had a suggestion to give my opinion on Lonzo Ball and if I think he's a bust. Personally, I'm not a fan of Lonzo Ball. However, he is a good player. He may not look like it through his first 20 games, but who's going to be perfect through their first 20 games? The guy's got 2 triple-doubles already. Now, we can't start comparing him to LeBron James and Michael Jordan and all those players, but if he can get his 3-point shooting down, and if he can shoot well inside the paint and right around the paint, I think he's got the potential to be an above-average player. Nothing like LeBron James just yet. Hasn't shown me that much, but I think he has got the chance to be an above-average player. I don't think he's going to be a bust by any means. He's not that bad. Now, if you do look at the stats, I saw this interesting stat that rookies, he's actually shooting among the best, or he's shooting best among almost all the rookies, around 30%, which sounds really bad since LeBron's shooting about 50%, but like I said earlier, he's not a LeBron, so I don't think Lonzo's a bust. Personally, like I said, I don't like him, but I think he'll shape out. He'll be an above-average player. He'll be worth taking at the 2 spot out of UCLA. Another thing that happened today was Eli Manning got benched roughly around 3:30 today, and they're going to start Geno Smith. Now, this is big because Eli Manning had the second longest starting streak for a quarterback, 2 games above his older brother. He's at 210, and Peyton Manning was at 208. Like I said, he's in second place. He was 61 games out of first place behind Brett Favre, so I don't think he would ever gotten there. They interviewed him today, and he said he wouldn't want to start the game and not finish it and turn it over to Geno after he takes the first series to keep his starting streak alive. He said that's not how he thinks the game should be played. If he's benched, he's benched, and if he's starting, he's going all the whole way, which I agree with. You shouldn't just want to keep a streak alive. You play to win. Even though they are a very subpar team this year, you do play to win. I personally like Eli Manning, even though everybody's trashing on him this year. He doesn't have any receivers. All his receivers got hurt. I mean, Odell going down early, that was big. He was doing really well with Odell. Even though they weren't winning games, he was still hitting them. Evan Ingram's been a big part of that offense. But if they had all their offensive weapons and their run game was solid, I don't think they would be this bad of a team. Obviously, they'd be a playoff contender. But I honestly think it's sad that they're benching Eli Manning this year. Let the man play his season out. He's got 2 Super Bowls. He's not that bad. But McAdoo wants to do what he wants to do, so... And Eli fully respects his decision. He understands what's going on, and hopefully this gets the Giants back on track, and it's not a Tyrod Taylor, Nathan Peterman thing where Geno Smith goes out and he throws a bunch of picks, and then Eli starts the second half. I don't see that happening. Geno Smith's not terrible, and he actually does have a little bit of experience, but that pretty much wraps up today's episode and everything that's happened today. So I told you my college football predictions, which will come out fairly soon, as it is 7 o'clock right now when I'm recording this. Lonzo Ball, not a bust, will be an above-average player. No LeBron James or Michael Jordan, but he will not be a bust. And Eli Manning will not start for the first time in 210 games. Like I said, this wraps up today's episode, and I'll see you again on Thursday when we talk about... I don't really know what we're going to talk about, so if you have any suggestions, let me know. I'm thinking talking a little bit of NBA, maybe the Thursday night game this week in the NFL, talking about the NFL and the playoff picture, how that's shaping up in the AFC and the NFC. But something like that, just let me know what you want me to talk about, and we'll talk about it.